is there anything you guys want to say about belief in God or belief in an afterlife or any of that as the gateway to maybe to the two more interesting questions about how do you find meaning and purpose and what does spirituality look like to you after Mormonism?
I think when people are taught to find meaning I'll just say meaning externally, then they keep seeking it externally. And that's why I think the question of like, is there a God, isn't there, is so important to so many people, because it is just like representative of this notion that they have that they need to find something outside of themselves.
Tell me what it is. Where is he? Who is he? What does he want?
Oh, there's a guru, a prophet, who knows? I guess I'll follow them if they know.
Exactly. Like, what's the scripture? What do I follow?
Yeah, and I think not to say that finding meaning isn't about external things in the sense of it is about connection with other human beings and with, from my perspective, and nature. But I think it's finding the interconnectedness of all things, and I think that's what basically every spiritual teacher throughout history that has been good has taught, is to recognize that oneness. You know, we're all just these interacting systems and processes, and nothing's truly individual. What's the thing you always say, that there's like more bacteria on your body than there are cells in your body or something? Yeah.
That's wild.
But I think through realizing interconnectedness, it's both internal and external at the same time, because it's realizing that it is something bigger than yourself, but it's also like you're kind of all of it in the sense that you're connected to all of it. I always think of it as like, in the same way that like your kidney is just one part of the larger organism that is your body. The earth is an organism, and we are like individual little parts of that. But like there is like the earth operates on like a collective intelligence, like in the same way that my entire body has more intelligence than just my kidney, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah.
And so in some ways, is that spirituality to you, or?
Yeah, interconnectedness, definitely. And I think a big part of my spirituality is, I think when you realize that we're all just the products of our genetics and experiences, it helps you, forgive people and not judge people. Like, I think Jesus was right on the money about forgiveness and not judging people, because like people are what life has made them to be. And if you look at like the worst criminals in society, for example, a lot of them, possibly had genetic predispositions to certain things, but then also like have gone through a lot of trauma. Like I think I read that like well, actually I won't say this, just got that out. I didn't want to give a bad statistic that wasn't true.
Okay, well, let me ask it this way. So I can see a listener that's wanting to write all this off as hippie mumbo jumbo. Mm-hmm. Great, we're all connected. Like when I went to church, it's like inspirational talks, singing in the choir, doctrine and theology that gets me excited, community, we're Jesus and the atonement, and we're going to become God someday, and we're working towards something, and testimony meetings and studying your scriptures and praying and getting the Holy Ghost. Like that's like people are looking to get juiced up. So if somebody were to turn that back and say, well, Samantha, great, you're all connected. Where do you get the juice?
Yeah, where's the juice? What do you do with it?
Yeah, I think rituals and community things are important for giving people the juice.
But where do you get it?
Me personally?
Yeah.
I mean, I meditate and I journal. Those are really big ways that I connect to myself. And I find that when I'm the most connected to myself, I'm better able to connect with others. And when my empathy for myself is high, my empathy for others is high. When my judgment of myself is high, my judgment of others is high. So I think your relationship with yourself is always first and foremost, because how you feel about yourself is gonna affect how all your other relationships. Like people who are hateful to others are hateful with themselves. You don't find someone who like genuinely loves and accepts themselves who's hateful to other people. It just doesn't happen. So I think like recognizing that personal practices like meditation are like an offering to the world as well, in the sense that like if you can take care of yourself, you can show up in the world with more empathy and less judgment. And then also, I mean, like learning, I think is a really important thing, because by understanding all the systems that give rise to certain types of people, or maybe certain crimes or certain mental illnesses, and like all these various things, like when you understand the system, you're able to be a more effective change maker. And again, I think when you kind of understand that we're all the products of our genetics and experiences, then you can start thinking about, well, how can we work to create different systems that will give people like healthier experiences, that will make them like happier, healthier people who are more beneficial to society.
And becoming, contributing to that is like you do derive a sense of satisfaction and personal fulfillment from that. Mm-hmm. Even like as we talk about, the Fair Mormon or whoever, and you're like, those knuckleheads. Like at the end of the day, I don't have any personal animosity toward them. I'm not even truly hurt by like, they've done videos knocking us or whatever. And it's like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really hurt me because like, I know who I am. Like, I know what I'm doing. And like, I also can deeply empathize with someone who's trying to like at all costs hold on to something that they hold dear. And so like, when I see someone lashing out in anger toward me or toward my community, I see someone in pain. And I'm like, I'm sorry that pain is being directed in this way. But I don't hate you for it. And, should anything change with any one of them, I'd welcome them with open arms. And even if not, I still would, because at the end of the day, they're still just as worthy of love and respect as I am. Going back to the original point about atheism and agnosticism, I think part of the problem with the terms is like even the word God itself is so convoluted, and that every single person has their own definition of what God means to them and their own relationship with that word. So it's hard to, speak to every single person's personal interpretation of God. For Mormons, it's this bearded Homo sapiens polygamist in the sky in Kolob, and I certainly don't believe in that.
And his wives.
And his wives, yep. Got to make those babies to inhabit those planets. I don't know if I'd be classed as a theist in any real substantive sense, but I would say that like going from that state of believing in a somewhat traditional view of God, that there is a conscious being who assembled the planet together from thin air or other materials or whatever your story is, and put the animals on it and put people on it, and going away from that and viewing the universe as, like Samantha said, is more of an organism in and of itself, something that is just happening, and that we are a part of that happening. So if nothing is divine, then the flip side of that is everything is divine. And that's where like pantheism comes in. So I'm just as much a pantheist as I am an atheist.
Wait, how does everything is divine spring forth from nothing is divine?
Well, if nothing is divine except for our perception and our decision to consider it such, then there's no limit on what we're able to consider divine.
But some people are going to go, no, wait, I don't want to believe in something powerful and majestic just as a fiction, as something like I delude myself into. I want to know, like, I think this is the compelling thing about a high demand religion. It's like, no. This is the one true church. You have a purpose. Here's what it is. You're going to become a God. There is a God. There is an afterlife. And it's like someone handing you the certainty of something very powerful and cool and a big story and something to really believe in, versus, and I'm going to mischaracterize what you just said, which is like, well, I guess nothing matters, so everything matters. I guess I'll just convince myself that everything matters, versus being handed some really big story. How does that become truly motivating and exciting to you when it's almost like a decision?
I think it ties into what Samantha said about the awareness of the connectivity, because in religion you do exist as this isolated entity. You're a spirit being, and you're your own self. You were put on the earth. You didn't come out of the earth. You're put on it. Yeah, and so when you're discovering, it's a practice of taking yourself seriously, as if I am, or we are the highest expression of complex thought, of consciousness. How do we act? If you're God, you got your wish, you got exalted, and he put you on this planet right here, and you're God now. What do you do with that? Like no one ever takes thought to that. They're just like, oh, I just want to live for happy. What they're saying is, I don't want to have to worry about it. I don't want to figure it out. I don't want to take myself seriously. I want someone else to tell me what my destiny is and not get too specific about it, but just give me hope so I can lull me into carnal passivity or whatever the term is. It's really this, the spiritual quest is finding yourself and taking yourself seriously. And when you understand that all things really are connected, and they are connected because you can find that everything, all these systems do interact, and if you can trace them to their importance to you. And so when you go out into the world, you find yourself all over. And so it's this process of like pure joyful discovery and intentional living of, like I said, taking yourself seriously. If you're God, what do? What kind of life do you live? What makes you happy? And when you get to heaven, are you going to sit around and play a harp for 10 million years?
You're going to have billions of babies.
Billions of spirit babies.
It's the best they could come up with.
Yeah, it's just like you're just going to be having sex with like person after person after person, and then you're going to have to hear prayers from all of them for the rest of eternity. Like it'll get boring after a while. Like when you really think about eternity, and we're incapable of understanding or even beginning to comprehend what that would be like. But if you really get into the weeds of an eternal existence, all of it would get so boring. I can't think of a single thing that I'd want to do forever and not get totally sick of. So there's the novelty, the limitation that compels, the constraint that compels creativity. Is really interesting in life. The ephemeral nature of it gives it its value.
Meaning we all die.
We all die. So do something, like experience something, find something, make something.
Miracle of life.
Yeah, and following your own bliss, I think is the key. Is like we're always following what other people tell us is good, whether that's an interest in something weird or doing something weird or dressing weird or dancing weird or, we don't want to be perceived as weird or different at this, but we all have these inclinations for things that make us unique. And when you follow those things and honor them and, consider them with the same devotion that you would have considered your religious obligation to Elohim, then you find your life just truly blossoming and joy is a byproduct of that. Of taking yourself seriously and not seriously at all, realizing the hilarity of it and being able to laugh at yourself and the condition that you find yourself in. Is this all too gobbledygook?
No, it's beautiful.